Next one up is Acala, and Acala was mentioned a few times before today, which was totally unintentional, but it's always a good sign when the investor panelists refer to one of your startups as an exemplar of what's happening in the industry. So that would be Acala today, and Acala has built a decentralized finance hub and stablecoin platform powering cross-blockchain liquidity and applications. And to introduce Bette and Acala is Jocelyn Weber. Jocelyn, take it away.
Yeah, thank you so much, Nick, and thank you, Howard, for inviting me. Happy to support Acala alum, Howard. Yeah, and so I'm Jocelyn Weber, and I'm working at UC Berkeley in our blockchain efforts, and we've been doing quite a bit in the last 6 years around the blockchain space. We teach quite a few courses on the campus, and 2 years ago, we had the opportunity from Berkeley Engineering to partner with the Haas School of Business and the Blockchain at Berkeley Student Club and launch an accelerator in early 2019. And since that time, we've accelerated 45 startups from around the world. Some are native Berkeley startup companies, but generally the vast majority are from around the world. And Acala is one of those. And they were one of our star teams from 2020 cohort. And so I'm really happy to introduce them. Interestingly enough, they've raised over $7 million round last summer, led by Paul Veradicate, a partner at Pantera, who's also a Berkeley alum. So kind of small world connections here. But I'm really happy to introduce Bette and have her share with you what we were really impressed with that they were building, and kind of addressing a lot of the topics that's come up today around the DeFi opportunity. So Bette, take it away.
Well, thank you so much, Jocelyn, for the very kind words. And we will certainly benefit a lot and making very good connection and progress during our time at Berkeley. So I really appreciate that. Yeah, so I actually prepared a presentation. So I'll just start sharing my screen before I get into it. All right. So can everyone see my screen? Is it on? Okay.
Yes, your screen is on. You just have to make it larger.
All right, in a presentation mode.
Okay, you're good.
All right, all good. Yeah, putting your faces on the side so I can see some of you. Yeah, so I mean, hello everyone. This is Bette, co-founder at Acala. Thanks for tuning in. So, and also very appreciate Howard and the team invited us here, and thanks for the kind words from Jocelyn. Yeah, to start with, Acala is the crushing DeFi hub of Polkadot. And then as worth mentioning, my background is a software engineer, and then later turned as a product manager, and then building quite a number of tech products in the space, and then got into crypto full-time quite a number of years ago. Yeah, so I think the last presentation from Basket was super interesting, because that's probably another, I guess, the end of the vertical, because we also building a stablecoin and also a set of DeFi suites. But I will actually make a very swift turn into the technology side. So hopefully also give you guys some insights into where the latest tech is, and also where we see things at. Because as I mentioned, Acala is building on Polkadot. I think it's worthwhile for me to dig a little bit into this ecosystem, and also probably more so why we are building on this next generation of platform, where we believe the future will be, and hopefully share a little bit of insight as a builder, as a one of the developer teams in the ecosystem. I think one of the premises that we kind of operate on is we all believe that innovation benefits mostly from growth on top of a shared infrastructure. So we see that in the Web2, the SaaS model, and a lot of that, right? So we actually call this composability. And if we take kind of like a first principle view to look at where the blockchain space has evolved, and look at each of the platform. So Bitcoin is very simple. It is a single ledger, like ultimately. It's a specific application of this blockchain ledger with limited composability. It does have scripting, but it's more like a computer, a calculator. But it does what it does really well, right? And then quickly moving on to sort of the next iteration of the technology. Then we have Ethereum, right? There's, of course, I'm sure you heard a lot about farming, DeFi today, but in its sense, in terms of technology, it's a ledger plus an EVM, right? This is, in a sense, what the technology is about. And an EVM is a Ethereum virtual machine. So basically, a computer allows developers to program applications on top of it. So that's why you can build various different type of financial applications, and they all be able to compose with each other. But ultimately, Ethereum is a giant computer. It's like a mainframe, right? And then I think the composable smart contracts now we see coming out of it has led a way of adoption today, and especially in the financial application area. But we also seeing it hitting the throughput limitation. And of course, the consequence of that is like costs and overhead of new users and then deploying new applications start to skyrocketing. But this is what it got us where we are today, right? So it's kind of really cool innovation from Bitcoin. What happens next then? I guess there are a few challenges as a builder that we can see from this point on. First, to start with, the protocol itself, right, is very rigid, very hard to. It's very hard to change economic policy specifically. That's what I mean. Like, for example, if we want to lower the fees or innovate around the fee structure and how the incentives gets aligned, between the miners and then the application builders and also the users, it's difficult because it is a platform kind of built that way. Another challenge I would point out is you could obviously. Hold on, there's some noise at the background. Let me turn it down. Sorry, I hope that's better. Yeah, so I was sort of mentioning, another challenge that as a builder we can see is like, surely you can build another layer one, another mainframe, right? You can copy and paste and innovate areas that you want to innovate. But to be fair, bootstrapping trust is really, really hard. Like, it's extremely hard, let alone bootstrapping users, liquidity, and also developer community. And on top of all of that, it also breaks composability. So then you ask the question, in a general sense, what happens after the mainframe era, in our computer history. So you got servers, you got cloud computing, and then that kind of like start up the internet era, and then where all the web applications comes out, or the SaaS model come out, right? So this is somewhat similar progression happening in a blockchain space. So to illustrate that, I'll just give you an example around how Polkadot and what Acala is kind of developing towards that trend. So so what I'm showing here is like what Polkadot actually empowers, and also, just one level down, as Polkadot is the internet protocol of blockchains, and then this is also what Acala is enabling specifically in the domain of finance. So let's take a closer look at the Acala stack, right? So remember I showed, in terms of first principle, Ethereum is just a ledger plus an EVM. So what you see here is Acala is also a, you can say layer one blockchain, but its ledger and its trust is a cloud service. So in a sense, it's actually a cloud service provided by the Polkadot Internet of Blockchain protocol, right? And then all of our chain logic, for example, they're all like service-like customizable modules, right? So they are like stablecoin, decentralized exchange, staking derivatives, which I'll go into a bit more later to explain, what they are. But they are, a set of financial instruments that you can compose, you can customize for building applications. And then you can also kind of like add additional modules, right? So all of these are customizable, similar to adding, downloading an app or adding an app to the App Store. And you can see like EVM is just one module on this stack, right? And then these modules are composable like APIs by applications built on top of it. And another point is like not only composable by the dApps built on top of it, it's also composable by all the other blockchains connected to Acala via Polkadot, right? So then your composability is, space is wide open, because then liquidity is aggregated, and then also the application state, like the protocols, are also can be composable across chain. Then you start to have innovations that wouldn't be possible in the current platform. One thing that I mentioned for example, in terms of customizability, we have this feature called Bring Your Own Gas, which if I have time, I'll actually show it on our platform, where users can actually pay stablecoin or any supported tokens like Bitcoin, if you want, for transacting on Acala. You can bring your own gas tokens onto the platform. So that's only because we are now at a technological stage where you can customize down to the core of the blockchain module and then offer everything as a service, just like what we have for the internet age. So a couple of probably highlights or a summary of what we think the future will look like and where we're building is, firstly, we think certainly the future will be multi-chain, just like our internet age, right? We're no longer intranets that operate in our own silos. Everything is going to be connected together. And then the second thing we are seeing is specialization trumps generalization. Right, so specialized blockchains will serve a particular domain really well. So I gave some light example. Hopefully I can also show some real example on Acala. This is where the real UX, so user experience innovation, will come from, because you can actually eliminate some of the so-called nuances of blockchain for the users at the far end. And then also these chains are going to be composable at all levels. And another key point is everything will be upgradable. So you no longer will see forks of blockchains, and also very hard to migrate smart contracts and things like that. So that's what we are seeing. And I would actually say the future is now, because what I just talked about is not just on paper. They are actually available right now on the stack that we're building on top of Polkadot and also on Acala. So just a couple of words for Polkadot. I think everyone is quite familiar with it, but just bear with me. So I think so. First of all, Polkadot is that protocol for Internet of Blockchains. So it's created by Dr. Gavin Wood, who's the creator, who's the co-founder of Ethereum, and also a creator of EVM. And Polkadot provides the cross-chain communication and trust as a service, basically. And it provides all of that service to all of the chains connected to it. So we call them parachains, right? And for example, Acala will be launched as one of the first parachains on Polkadot. And then one unique feature here is it uses Polkadot's shared security. So what I mean by that is, I mentioned bootstrapping trust is very hard. So right now, Polkadot is already bootstrapped that trust for its proof of stake network. And I looked at the market value, market cap yesterday. It's probably changed now. It's around $30 billion, right? So that it's an implication of the security of the network. And therefore, when Acala launches, it immediately enjoys that high level of security, and also means all the fees, transaction on Acala can be free or very, very low, right? But there is an implied cost to get the parachain slot to connect to Polkadot because resources are limited. But we can talk about that later if folks are interested. And at the same time, this whole thing is very composable. So let me give you a couple of use cases that see if you can imagine what's going to happen. So if you're a Bitcoin holder, you can basically cross your Bitcoin to Acala, and then without selling your Bitcoin, you can participate in Polkadot's proof of stake economy and earning yield. I think the kind of like advertised yield return APY is around 15 to 20%, and that's stable. So that's sustainable, right? So this is very different from your sort of like, now we call traditional yield farming from DeFi protocol, that it could give you like 4-digit percentage of APY, but that only lasts for a week to 2 weeks. So it's very different from that. So staking is more stable, consistent, and consistent. Yeah. And then the next use case will be, for example, Acala has a stablecoin called Acala dollar. You can actually cross that Acala dollar to a privacy chain, right? To another chain that connects to it, and you get a privacy coin back with privacy on top of DeFi very easily. And another thing you can think about is if the community wants to add USDC, or, for example, maybe the basket stablecoin that we just heard the presentation from as a gas token, as a gas fee token, right? Because that's the only way I'm allowed or compliant to be transacting on a platform. You can do that. You just go through a vote and then upgrade. There's no forks, no migrations, no fuss, and then everything will be operating seamlessly with this new addition fee token. Yeah, so that's a few use cases. And so I'm actually going to do a demo. So do I have enough time to run
maybe 1 or 2 minutes, but yeah.
Okay, cool. So let's do this. So you can still see my screen.
Yes.
Yeah, so let me just do a quick demo. All right, so this is the Acala platform. And this is a live testnet. So we've run this testnet for like 5 or 6 months. There's a lot of activities going on. So as you can see, the first thing you see is like all the liquidity are going to be aggregated in one place. So currently, we've got RAM protocol, bridging Bitcoin, and then also there are other Bitcoin bridges bring different versions of Bitcoin onto the blockchain. And later on, we'll have Ethereum and also other assets to be available on the platform. So this is very typical. I'm a Bitcoin holder and I don't own anything. I don't have ETH. I don't have Polkadot. I'm just Bitcoin holder. And then I use the RAM bridge to bridge, just a fraction of the Bitcoin to come and try out the platform, right? So I don't have any other token. In any other platform, you probably have to, swap some network token and do things. But in here, the first thing you can do is, you can use your Bitcoin holding to borrow some stablecoin and then do some trading and things like that. So for example, if I just use a little bit of my Bitcoin, let's say I borrow $300, and then you check through all the terms and conditions and things like that. So right now we are using a standard Polkadot wallet, but we're also integrating with some Web2 wallets. So folks from the Web2 used to Facebook and all the other apps, they would just need to simply put their email, and they don't even know they don't even need to know the keys and things like that. Although that's not the true crypto sort of ethos, not your key, not your money, but I think those will be a good addition to acquire users onto the platform. But those are super easy to integrate as well. And then, yeah, so while I was talking, we just like kind of borrow, $300 US dollars without any of the network tokens, right? But essentially, what happens is, I've got my Bitcoin. I've actually paid a fraction of the Bitcoin. So this is the browser. So I've got a fraction of the Bitcoin to pay for the transaction fees without holding any other tokens, right? This is just one tiny innovation we've done to actually improve the actual UX, right? Imagine if you come to a platform, you still need to acquire other tokens. That would be like really, really, really odd. And then, of course, you can go through the DEX to actually, use your Acala dollar, for example. Let's do that. $100. Let's do $200, and then let's swap some DOT, right? remember password. So now as a Bitcoin holder, I haven't sold my Bitcoin, and then now I got exposed to DOT, right? And then the next thing you can do is obviously I can put in my DOT. So this is a trustless a staking pool. So you just put your DOT into it, and then immediately you start earning returns on your staking yield, and then you don't, and then you can actually immediately withdraw any of the rewards. So what I'm showing you, all of this is actually primitives, if you like, infrastructures of DeFi. So obviously, so we are innovating quite quickly, building some of the I guess saving account products on top of that. You can already see how they can assemble together, right? Because potentially you can have stablecoin in as a user, and I don't care what happens underneath, but we can use the staking derivatives to generate return and yield, and out the other end you can have a stable return and potentially really good return for the users on the other end, or in stablecoin. So yeah, so
Great.
So that's the app, and I think I'm running out of time. And yeah, so that's Acala, and yeah, thanks for tuning in. And if there's any questions, we still have time, so happy to answer.
Great. Well, thank you so much, Bette.